Hi, welcome back to Career Talk with Laura. Today you're in for a special treat as this is part of my series of perspectives conversations with various leaders, high performers, and generally awesome people so you can learn from their experiences. Today I have Yan with me who will be sharing with us his experiences and insights on team culture and management. Yan leads a team of quantitative risk modelers. He is so avid in optimizing his management and coaching practices that he is our local talent development guru. And he also happens to be my boss. Yan writes a blog called Team Yan, which talks about management, team culture, and personal development. I have linked Yan's blog below in the description box, so you can check it out after this video. Thanks for joining me today, Yan. Could you tell our viewers more about yourself?
Thank you, Laura, for having me. Well, I have been a risk manager for the last 10 years in a top Canadian bank. Currently, I'm specialized in credit risk modeling, leading a team of about 15 people. Before this life, I was more with market trading floor, so I came to Canada about 10 years ago from Hong Kong.
Given your experience working in different countries and in different departments and over time, what are some of the differences you've observed in the work cultures and what does it take to excel in each culture?
It definitely changes with time, right? I mean, so over the years, since 20 years ago, the success criteria is changing. I think the common component is you need to be book smart to get in to find a job first. But then very quickly it becomes not as relevant. It's about your commercial sense. Do you understand what your boss wants? What is the success criteria? I think that becomes, a most important thing. If you don't understand what your organization needs from you, what your boss wants from you, then you are in trouble. So that I think is somewhat consistent. It changes with the time, given that I have different contexts, like trading floor for sure. You're asked to react more quickly to the market. So you need to make a decision very quickly. So that is a different skill than risk management that requires more time to think about what will be the right information and messaging to share with your stakeholders. So it takes a bit more time to think about the right combination. Whereas trading or trading floor, you require to have more quick reaction. So success criteria change with the context and the time, but there's some common component that didn't change.
So you mentioned that the work cultures has changed over time. How about your management practices? Have they changed?
It definitely should not change that much. I mean, in my recollection that I didn't change that much, and I was reminding myself what did I do at the very beginning. And that was, 25 years ago, when I started my first commercial job. I was asked to write a manual for a complicated system, and I was training my teammates about this complicated option trading system. So I would say I was writing a manual and training at the beginning, which I think I'm still doing it 25 years later, right? I'm trying to explain a complicated thing, writing it down and doing some training. So in that way, because I like to be a teacher, it's almost the same thing I've been doing in the last 25 years. I do think that I like to keep learning. Every time that I think there's some new information, new knowledge, I want to learn about it, I want to share. So that again, should not change, but I'm learning more. So I need to share more complicated, connected ideas. So that I think requires some adjustment. From the teacher at the beginning, now I'm becoming more, because I'm older, hopefully wiser, becoming more a coach to advise people how do you find or come to the best performance. So that coaching perspective is evolving. I think I'm becoming a better coach than for sure 25 years ago. And I think I also have this advantage of consistency because I've been managing a similar cohort of, in terms of age cohort. There's always, the beginning of their career, 20 to 30 years age group, which I think is consistent, even though that change in time, but what is their expectation when they're new? Because I'm doing similar role or similar level, so I was not progressing fast enough to actually manage 40 years old, 50 years old. So that helps from my sampling. So I think I've been doing quite consistent, but evolving from a teacher to a coach. The top practice is to keep learning about the better practice. There's no good enough one that I should just stop. I'm learning, as I told you guys, and I'm going to do a plug to the book that I like a lot, like the High Output Management. Of course, this is not the book, but I don't want to give you 10 suggestions and you will lose your patience to go through all of them. But it has the core ingredient that I use it a lot. And I actually write the blog summary, as Laura mentioned earlier, to share some high-level summary with my team. So keep learning through books and talk to people and say, okay, this is my practice. And they will say, no, I didn't do it that way. I have a different practice, so that you can contrast and get the best out of all experience. Observe, your boss, supposedly, their leadership experience is longer than you. So observe what they do different than you. So see the gap and potentially get some good tips from them. So I think the best practice is keep learning, in addition to all the foundation stuff that we talked about earlier, right? So that I think is a equation for success, keep learning. Always be human-centric. I know that we are a commercial organization, we have a goal, right? We need to finish a model or something that we cannot have no model finished at the end. So that will not be missed because it's a commercial goal, someone will remind you. But if you forget about, okay, while I'm doing it, what happened to the humans? Are they being stressed or motivated, or are they excited about that, adventure, or they actually thinking about the next job? If that's the thing that you miss, then you're not doing a good management job. You always need to spend enough time on the human. So I'm learning about the managerial leverage to look at my time investment. And if I feel like going in some block of time, I spend half of my time, or I spend less half of my time on the humans to understand what I can help them with, then I think I fail as a manager. There's definitely some time to talk about the projects, what is the progress, but I need to allocate enough time, to me at least half, for the humans, whether it's one-on-one discussion, team discussion, or big team discussion. These are all the time that we should invest for the benefit of the human. So human-centric is always, important to not forget.
Given you have sampled a lot of different work cultures, what is your ideal work culture, and how have you employed practices within your team?
That's an interesting question because, again, it changes with time, and I've been learning and reading books. I know, we talked about it before in our own team, discussion, that we're not a family, right? It's not like we are brother and sister or children. So we should not treat ourselves as a family, but I do think that we need to instill some features that like a family, like care and love. So we do care each other, we do love each other. I don't know, in the whatever sense you think is acceptable, right? But on the other hand, a good analogy is like a sport team. We do like to play together to achieve a common goal. So I think that is a more realistic target state to become a successful winning team. The challenge about the sport team analogy is what really is a goal, right? Sport team has competition. I need to win the World Cup or Olympics. So that's easier. Whereas in a commercial team, what is really the common goal? It's not really a competition every day. So we need to refine and define that commercial goal more clearly and understood by everybody. So that I think is a challenge. But I like that. And given that it's a sport team, so using that framework, then I think the ideal culture is to really understand each other's strength and weakness. Everyone has their particular skill, strength, and special angle to contribute. So we have to understand so that we can complement each other. So that has to be discussed and strategized and optimized. So I think this is the way that I look at a team culture. In particular, I still want to call back about the sport team analogy. Compared with our commercial setup, everyone wants to progress in our commercial organization. They want to get promoted. So at some point, everyone is progressing to a next level. Then the sport team analogy may not work because I think in the sport team, everyone play a role, but they do not progress into a senior player, head of something, right? That is difficult to manage. So how do you combine or trade off this, success criteria, individual progression versus a common goal? I think it takes some delicate balance to juggle. So I don't think I know exactly the right formula, but you have to be conscious about these two complementary goals to progress. I will mention a little bit about the practices that I like to do in our team. So to hopefully create that ideal environment. The first and foremost skill that we need to do is to develop the trust, so that everyone knows the intention of the team is the common success. We trust each other, not to say either I win, you lose, or the other way. So I think that trust building is important. I think the foundation of the trust is the information is fully open. So all the information minus, personal, salary, for sure, you can't open it. But other than that, I hope that all the information available from the top should be open to everyone, so that you know the success criteria, the constraint, the challenge that we are facing, so that you're not guessing, do you know more than me? My boss is holding information from me, so I do not know how to apply my best self to that common goal. So I think that, open information is critical. Other things like make sure we are 100% clear that everyone's success is our joint success. I can't be having success if some of us are struggling, having big challenge in their own goals. So this is a team success. The other thing that I think we are doing more and more is understanding how we work together. I assume that everyone comes to an organization, understand that this is not an individual effort, right? They can't just make this go by themselves. It has to work with the next teammate, your small team, and then the bigger team. It seems natural, it seems obvious, everyone knows how to collaborate, but I have seen a lot of different examples that will actually become an obstacle for collaboration. So I think pay attention to it, knowing that it's not easy, trying to optimize it and find any friction between collaboration and identify and solve it. I think it's an important practice that we never solve it completely, but we have to keep investigating a better way to do it.
You went through a lot of different points, like on the trust between the team, and that's, you know, it doesn't have to be like we're a family kind of relationship, but we have a level of trust with each other to know that we're still trying to support each other, and there's a common interest in having success and for everybody, rather than just thinking for, you know, everyone for themselves, like dog eat dog kind of world, right? So I think that's like one of the key components of a really great trusting work culture. Agreed.
This is a part that I can ask your own perspective, you know, from your own field experience, of course, different tenure. How do you see a different culture that you have experienced that is definitely not the same as we just described?
Actually, well, in most of my past experiences, I haven't had any experience where people were super competitive and trying to, you know, like throw each other on the bus or anything like that. But one experience I did have was a more, I would say, like a more strict team culture where mistakes are not as easily tolerated, and that would drive some level of fear within the team. I think that also creates less trust in the management or the leadership.
For sure, we want to be successful, we want to be winning, we want to do good, you know, result good products. But just like anything else, failures, obstacles, setback is expected. So if you have a culture that's saying that there's no setback, there's no failure, no mistake allowed, I don't know how that can support the growth of the individual and organization. This is a very interesting contrast. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but just saying how can it be used to motivate the individual, right? Because in reality, everyone, you and me included, will make mistakes, will have setbacks in our, you know, whatever is the operation. If you're saying that you cannot make mistakes, that is just hard to execute, impossible to my mind.
So now that we've discussed what it looks like in a general work culture, how about the teammates themselves? What qualities do you look for in your teammates and in as well as your boss and the management?
That, I think, again, changes in time and context as I have more samples. I thought at the beginning, because you always do a technical job, I want the smartest mathematician or statistician or computer scientist to be in our team. Obviously, this is still important in our team, but I think it gradually goes to how the human work together as a common goal, back to our ideal culture, you know, discussion just now. So I would like to now see more the individual character that is important. They should be calm, open-minded, willing to listen, willing to learn from other people while offering their own expertise. And it's very important they need to keep learning, because obviously our business is changing over time. If you think they have learned enough from their school or from their last job and they stop learning from now on, that is not very good for us. So I think, again, candid, open-minded, curiosity, I would say are the basic foundation of what we're looking for. And the technical skill is always exam. You know, someone will check it out whether he or she has the technical training or programming skill. Those are easy to actually vet. The other things that I just mentioned, more personal quality, it takes time, or it takes some more angle to look at and to confirm they have that. So a lot of referencing, or hopefully through indirect information, that will be, I think, useful to confirm that. So that will be the individual success criteria. Getting to the boss, I think that is your question. You know, how do you want to look for a boss, including some of our leaders? Look after your own individual teammates, right? You have to take care of your humans first and foremost. I think that will be the number one, because you're now not just responsible for yourself, you're responsible for a group of people. So your interest on the fellow humans, particularly the people reporting to you directly, is critical. So I think I quote a term called leaders eat last. So you should be the last one to take the benefit from this, common maneuver or, operation. You should be the one who help the other first before that helps yourself. And so I think that will be the success criteria, and always pay attention how people work together. Because as I mentioned earlier, you assume this is easy. We always have a collection of people, intelligent. They should figure out how to, bring the best out of the team. That doesn't happen naturally. So paying attention, understanding the challenge and potential friction between individual, pairs, and group, is something that we need to have from a leader.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this idea of like servant leadership, whereas the leader is not a boss that tells you what to do, rather they help empower you to do all these things for yourself and for the team. Thanks for sharing your experiences and perspectives with us today, Yan. I hope everyone can learn from our conversation today. To our viewers, if you want to learn more from Yan, be sure to check out his blog linked in the description and leave your questions and comments below. Thanks for watching. Bye. Okay, all right. Are you ready to start?
Yes, I'm nervous.
Me too.
Because now we do so many stuff to prepare now. I don't want to screw up saying the first sentence is an NG.
And then, so we finished question 2, right?
You see, that's why there's NG. Right? What is it so bad? Like during your own session, like you have more NGs or less NG than this?
I have more NGs than this. Like every sentence I NG.
Okay, so can I answer it now?
No, not yet. Okay. Let me ask the question first.
You're killing me. This host is awful.